Hello. Today I have my Monday catch up. I guess that's what I'm going to call this video because what my intent is every Monday I want to tell you about the books I read in the previous week. In this previous week I read 17 books and that brings me to 36 books for September so far, and the first week I think I read 5 books, the second week it was 14 books, and this past week it was 17 books. So let's just get started. The first book that I read was Aminas Voice by Hina Khan, or Hina, Hena Khan. This is a middle grade book about a Pakistani American Muslim girl who's trying to find her place, especially in school. Does she let her culture go, or does she try to hold on to her culture? Does she try to feel more American, even changing her name to an American name? I thought this was a very, very nice story, and it showed how she's trying to adapt fitting in school. So that was Aminas Voice. The next book I read was My Sweet Girl by Amanda Jayatissa. Now, it's about a girl, a young woman named Polona, who was adopted from a Sri Lankan orphanage when she was a child. Now she's 30 years of age, and she does no longer have the financial support of her parents, the physical support of her parents, or even the emotional support of her parents. And what happens is we start to see something that's happening in her life based on something that she does. She takes in someone, she sublets one of her bedrooms to someone named Aaron. Aaron discovers a secret of hers, but what's more is that one morning she finds his body. So she calls the police, and when they get there and she goes to take them to the body, there is no body, there is no blood. So what's going on? Now, while that is part of the story, we have her past when she was in the orphanage. And when we have the scenes in the story from her orphanage, we see how difficult things were for her and for the other girls in the orphanage, what led to her being adopted, and what happened in the years after her adoption. It's a really good mystery thriller. It's not a women's fiction because it's based on a woman who was adopted. No, something sinister is going on, and you'll only find out if you read the book. Okay, the angle might be a little bit different because I left a book out and I have to edit it in because I want to give you this in the right order. This book here is Pretty Little Liars by Sarah Shepard. Now, I'm going to click it on Goodreads because I'm not sure how many is in the series. Let's see. Apparently there are a lot of books, which I don't think I'll read, but my word, what a long series. Okay, 16 books. Okay. I read Pretty Little Liars because I do reading challenges every month, and one of the challenges that I'm doing is I needed a book that was turned into a television series. And this book, sorry, I'm just moving my coffee because my cat is wandering around on my desk. This book was recommended because I needed a book that was a book that turned into a television series. So again, it was Pretty Little Liars, the first book in a very long series that I'm not eagerly interested in, but it's a YA book, and it's about a young junior who, in the trials that she goes into with just I don't know, a YA book. It wasn't a favorite. It's 288 pages. I read it because I had to, but it wasn't something that I loved. I think it looks like I only gave it 3 stars. I didn't write a review for it, and I won't watch the series, but I did want to just tell you briefly that it was Pretty Little Liars, and it was the first installment, very cliche, a book about teenagers, and that's it. All right, let me get back to editing. Then I read Little Bones by Patricia Gibney, which is the 10th book in the D.I. Lottie Parker series. Now, I have read all 9 previous books, and in this particular book, we have a woman who is found dead, and her, I think the baby was 3 months old, infant was left alive, And so Lottie Parker and her team, including Boyd, who is her boyfriend, for lack of a better word, are investigating this murder. And while this happens, another woman goes missing. This woman went missing, but in this case, her 4-year-old son, Evan, is also missing. So where is this woman and where is this little boy? Then, to add to that, someone finds little bones that were part of a skeleton of what could only be an infant. But the bones were small and very much decomposed, so they can't be Evan's. So Lottie and her team are hoping that they find Evan alive. So what is the connection between the little bones, the dead woman, Evan's mother, and the fact that Evan is missing? Meanwhile, Lottie and Boyd have a hiccup in their relationship. Boyd has something going on that is affecting his relationship with Lottie. So while most of their attention is directed on the case, they do have to work through their difficulties. The next book I read was The Liar's Child by Cheryl Brown. Now, this is about a couple named Kay and Matt. Now, Kay and Matt were in love, had a good marriage. Matt is a physician who specializes in pediatrics, and so he's always on call. And at some point, however, a fissure develops in their relationship because Kay starts to think that Matt is having an affair, that some of those on-call moments that he's not at home, he must be having an affair. Part of her reason is for a message that she saw on his phone. At the same time, they have a little girl named Poppy, 5 years old, who has renal disease and will soon need surgery. And their attention and their time should be focused on Poppy, but instead, their relationship is rather rocky. Now, meanwhile, Poppy didn't like going to school, but she found a friend at school. They became fast friends, best friends, loved each other from almost the moment they meet. And one day when Kay is picking Poppy up from school, she sees this little girl that Poppy is so close to, and the two could be twins. They could be sisters. So this further cements the thought in her mind that Matt must have had an affair because this little girl that looks exactly like her daughter must be her husband's daughter. Now remember, the book is called The Liar's Child. So somebody is a parent of this child and somebody is a liar. The question is, who is the liar in this story? It's a psychological thriller, by the way. Then I read a young adult book called Dear Evan Hansen by Val Emick and Stephen Levinson. Now, this was about a high school senior named Evan who was going through some really difficult times, and he was seeing a therapist, and his therapist had him write letters to himself, and it was a way to help Evan improve on his communication skills. Well, along the way, another student in the school that Evan goes to committed suicide, and there was a letter found that led people, including the boy's parents, to believe that Evan and the boy that killed himself were best friends. And so we see the path Evan goes on while trying to keep up the illusion that he was friends with this boy, all while dealing with his own emotional difficulties. Now, I only came across this book because I was watching America's Got Talent a few weeks ago, and there was a performer on there that did the theme song of a play or a movie. I think it's a movie that's coming out in November, and because I want to see the movie, I had to get the book first because I always try to read the book before I watch the movie. The next book I read was Dead Mercy by Noelle Holton. It's the DC Maggie Jameson book number 5. The first 4 were Dead Inside, Dead Wrong, Dead Perfect, and Dead Secret. I read and loved all 4 of the other ones, and I equally loved this one as well. Now, in this specific case, there is a brutal killer at large, but he leaves very specific clues. So if they could connect all the dots, they hope to find the killer. What's more is that the killer's voice is heard in certain sections of the story that allude to something that happened in the past, and someone is trying to right the wrongs of the past with these murders, and now Maggie and her team have to get to the bottom of this before more and more bodies drop. Meanwhile, there's somebody that's new in the mix, and that is Julie Noble, who is a journalist, and Maggie's trying to keep Julie at bay because she doesn't want to tip the killer off, but she also has a personal reason, a personal investment in what's going on with Julie. Meanwhile, Kate, who is a psychologist, was very close to Maggie at one time and experienced unspeakable trauma, I believe in the second or third book in the series. Well, anyway, Kate's back on the job, so it was nice to see Kate again. Then I read Watching Over You by Laurie Foster. Now, this is the Mackenzies of Ridge Trail series, and it's the third book in the series. The first book was Cade's, the brother. Then there was Reyes, another brother, and now it's Madison. So their father, why can't I think of his name? I'm not going to try to guess his name. Their father had 3 children, and now Madison, the daughter, has her story. Well, on a previous case, Madison fell head over heels in love with Crosby Albertson, who was a cop, and he shut her down. He just didn't want to have anything to do with her. At least that's what she thought. Well, now Crosby in this story has been hired by her father, and Madison gets her second chance. Now, meanwhile, Crosby has his family to protect, and Madison has her family to protect. So how do the two come together and keep their families safe despite the dangers facing them? What are the dangers facing them? Well, Madison's family champions the cause of women who are victims, specifically women who are victims of these white slavery or sexual exploitation of women. They shut down these organizations, and somewhere along the way they have acquired more than one enemy. That enemy is now in front of them and is putting everybody at risk. The next book I read was The Inheritance by Joanne Ross. This is about 3 sisters, Chess, Charlotte, and Natalie, who were raised separately because of their father, Jackson Swan's affairs. These sisters were pretty much unaware of each other until Jackson passes away, and in his will he has an inheritance of a vineyard. But in order for any of the 3 girls to receive their inheritance from their father, they have to get together and spend time together to get to know one another, and so they can accept the terms of the will. Now, the question is, will they accept each other, or will they be filled with resentment or feel the rejection that they felt because of more than one of them not being raised with their father? But there's another aspect of the story, and that is that their grandmother married their grandfather during World War II, so she gives them the history of the vineyard, but also about what they did during the war, and how that was a remarkable story in and of itself. So while the 3 sisters are getting to know one another, they're listening to stories from their grandmother. That was a really, really good book. The next book I read was Cold as Ice by Toni Anderson, and it's, I think, the 5th book in the Cold Justice, the Negotiator series. The first one was Cold and Deadly, then there was Colder Than Sin, Cold Wicked Lies, and Cold Cruel Kiss, which I did read all 4 of them. Now, in this book, Darby O'Rourke wakes up and finds a dead body when she wakes up. Now, Darby O'Rourke was a graduate student who I think not quite a year previously, but maybe the previous summer, had been kidnapped and brutally assaulted and was rescued by the FBI. Now, when she was rescued by the FBI, she felt very comfortable with FBI SSA Eben Winter, Special Supervisory Agent, I think it's called, a Supervisory Special Agent. Well, in any case, he shut her down because she was a kidnap victim and he was a professional. Well, now it's present time, and Darby wakes up in an apartment, and she's on a sofa, and she's kind of a little frazzled, and she realizes that she's not in her own home. And she looks around the apartment, an apartment that she had been in before, or a home that she had been in before at a Christmas party. So she kind of is remembering where she is. And then she calls out the name of the man whose home she's in. He doesn't respond, so she gets up. She decides to clean up, wash dishes, make noise, bang pots. Hopefully he'll wake up. Doesn't happen. So she starts to wander around, and she finds the bedroom. She sees his feet sticking up like this, so she knows he's lying on his back. She calls his name. He doesn't respond. She starts to approach the bed, and she sees a knife sticking out of his chest, so she knows he's dead. So she jumps in a car. She leaves. She calls the police, but she also calls the Eben Winters, the FBI. Well, the police immediately want to charge her for the murder because she was found with a dead body, or she was found in the location of the dead body. So will she be charged with murder, or will what actually happens, and it's not a spoiler, is enough clues happen rather in quick succession that prove that she could not have killed the guy. And what's more is that Eben now feels that he has to protect her, and as he's protecting her, it's soon realized that he did have feelings for her, and where these feelings will go now that she is in the sights of a killer who is killing more than one person. So it's passionate, it's intense, it's dangerous, and it's a really, really good story. As a matter of fact, at the end of the book, Ms. Anderson said that this is her longest book that she's ever written, and I think that it was more like 75 suspense, 25% romance, and it was a really good book. The next book I read is Mistletoe on Moonstone Lake by Holly Martin. This is the 5th book in the Jewel Island series. Now, see, I am a series fanatic, so I did read all of these previous books, just like I've read every previous book in all the series I've told you about so far in this video. The previous books were Sunrise over Sapphire Bay, Autumn Skies over Ruby Falls, Ice Creams at Emerald Cove, and Sunlight over Crystal Sands. Sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. So, here in this book, Zoe and Kit meet when she spends a month in the Cornish village. They are connected, and it's their past that connects them, but their connection is really a secret that Zoe has that she hides from Kit, and they're really attracted to one another. But Zoe feels that if Kit ever found out her secret, he wouldn't want anything to do with her. So despite their powerful attraction, the future seems utterly impossible. A really good book. I haven't yet written the review. Actually, I haven't written quite a few of these reviews yet, but it was a really good book. The next 2 books I read were by, I didn't write the author's name down. What is her name? Okay, Jessica R. Patch. I'm sorry. The next 2 books were Cold Case Takedown and Cold Case Double Cross by, like I said, Jessica R. Patch. Now, I have Cold Case Double Cross as a blog tour, but I wanted to read the first book, which was Cold Case Takedown, and I got that from my library. These are love-inspired romantic suspense, so they are romantic suspense with the connection of faith in each book. Now, in Cold Case Takedown, we have Georgia Maxwell and Colt McCoy, and they're dealing with a cold case, quite naturally, because that's the theme of these books. And then in the second book, we have May Vogel and Cash Ryland, and again, they're working on a cold case, and their faith is the backdrop of what they do and how they solve the crimes. Now, I did look on Goodreads and found out that Yuletide Cold Case is the 3rd book in the series, and that comes out October 26th. I'm not sure if it's a trilogy or if the series will go on beyond that. I really don't know. The next book I read was Second Chance to Wear His Ring by Hannah Sheik, and this was about a woman named Amal who broke billionaire or millionaire Mansour Ali's heart when he proposed to her. They were friends as children and as adults, even though they were separated by miles because he had moved to America and she remained in their home country, which is Somaliland, if I'm saying it right, Somaliland. Well, they became close, but she rejected his offer of marriage. Whether it was the miles that separated them, or other reasons, all he knows is his heart was broken. Well, Amal is injured in an accident and has a certain type of amnesia. Some things she remembers, quite a few things she doesn't. Well, his mother is helping Amal, and she lets Manny, that's what they call him, know that Amal is suffering from this anesthesia. So he comes home and realizes that the feelings that he has for her have never died down. They're still very intense, but the thing is, her memory is getting in the way. Will these two get a second chance? That's what this book is all about. Then I read 2 books by Adriana Herrera, and they were 1 Week to Claim It All and Just for the Holidays. Now, Just for the Holidays is a blog tour book, so I went to my library and I got 1 Week to Claim It All to read first. Now, this is the Sembrano Studio series book. It's about, it's a Hispanic, very successful movie studio where the father, Mr. Sembrano, was the mogul of this media empire. Well, he's passed away, and he wills his empire to Esmeralda, who was his estranged daughter. Now, the father married somebody else and had other children, but yet he leaves his empire to Esmeralda. Meanwhile, Rodrigo, indigestion from my coffee. Rodrigo Almanza was Mr. Sembrano's protege, so he expected to become CEO, but now Esmeralda is in the picture and the two clash, but they have a strong visceral or powerful attraction to one another, but only one of them can be CEO. So where's it gonna go? So that's 1 Week to Claim It All. As far as Just for the Holidays, Perla Sembrano, who is Esmeralda's half-sister, she wants to hire this gorgeous Hispanic actor, Gael Montes, for an upcoming film. Now, while she's trying to woo him to take the role, they end up becoming snowed in at a cabin, his family's cabin, and the two realize how drawn they are to one another. And what I liked about this book, and there was conflict based on her role in the studio that she worked with, and I won't go into what that conflict was because I don't want to do a spoiler. But I will say that I loved his family. His family was very, very supportive, and I liked their role in this book. Perla's family leaves a lot to be desired, and to know more about Perla's family, you'll learn about her mother in the first book in the series, 1 Week to Claim It All. And the last book that I read yesterday, Sunday, was Christmas Miracle in Jamaica. This was by Anne McIntosh. And it's about Chloe Barkley and Sam Powell, who had a one-night stand at a conference. I think the conference was in San Diego, California. Well, Chloe is a neurologist, and Sam is a surgeon. Sam works at a Jamaican hospital, and the company that I want to say Maddie from another book, Chloe works for, she specializes in traveling hospital work or doctor's work, and she ends up at the Jamaican hospital where Sam works, and they never expected to see one another again. They did have a fabulous night together, but it should have been a one and done, or at least that's what they thought. Well, why is it called Christmas Miracle in Jamaica? Because Chloe discovers that she was pregnant with Sam's child, and it's a miracle based on some particular health issues that Chloe has. And now the question is, will she and Sam get a second chance and will he be involved in their children's life? So I will show you my planner, but I am going to incorporate screenshots for each book I talk about in this video. But I'm going to back up a little bit, but this is how I track. I've shown this many times on this channel so far already, but these are the way that I track. And today, Monday, I am currently reading Her Daughter's Mistake, and I believe it's Kate Hewitt. So I started a book already today, and that's about it. So let me get this video edited so I can upload it. But I want to thank you for your time, and please like, subscribe, and please hit that like button. I need that. All right, thank you. Oh, I do want to say one other thing. I think I will link all of these books in the description below. And as an Amazon affiliate, if you do purchase any of these books, it will go on my towards anything that I make for this channel. So I think I will link these books. It's just an afterthought. All right, that is really it. Bye-bye.